case you've got to, of course, talk to the child's parents. You know, a lot of people today, I don't have to tell you guys, they got blinders on when it comes to their own kids, right? You know? So you need to be able to document that aggressive, you know, behavior to address it with the parents. But also, it shows very much attentiveness on your part. You know, if I represented a child that was hurt by a bully, and I'm asking you questions in a deposition, and I ask you, well, is it true that for 2 weeks prior to this, you know, that this child, the bully had been, you know, threatening my client and had maybe been pushing my client or, you know, flicking my client, that type of thing? Well, yes, all of that had been occurring, and in fact, you never took the time to even document any of that, did you? Well, no, but I had it in the back of my mind. I knew of it and I was aware of it, but why didn't you take the time to just write it down? To give the, you know, the headmaster, you know, some notice of it and that type of thing. I would attack that, and if you fail to write it down, that means that you didn't really take it as seriously as you should. When you take the time, you can testify that you did something or that something happened all day long, but unless you took the time then to write it down, to document it, to memorialize it on paper, what occurred, it's just not going to have the significance. You know, it's just not going to be viewed as this, that you really took the situation seriously enough. So my advice is absolutely you document it. Keep your administration well aware of circumstances that warrant, you know, hey, I think that we've got a situation that, you know, I'm going to need more assistance in as far as the supervision here. I'm going to need some intervention by the administration here also, you know. That playground equipment is a big one too, isn't it? You know, I could see that, you know, being a really big issue because kids can be hard on a piece of equipment now, and something can get rickety, and or potentially, you know, a sharp object could be exposed, that type of thing. Any of those circumstances, if you become aware of it, you've got to immediately let your administration know. And I tell you what, guys, as far as the document, it's always good to document to protect yourself. To protect yourself. Not only that you documented what occurred, but you document who you then told about it, right? That protects you. That protects you. That way, hey, if the administration took it and didn't do what they were supposed to do with that circumstance and that information that you gave, then that's not on you. Okay? Another quick scenario here. Sally, a first grade student, she started to sit down in her chair. Another student that was seated next to her, right as she was sitting down, pulled the chair out from under her, and that caused her to fall, injured her tailbone when she hit the floor. At the time the incident occurred, the teacher was in front of the class. Some of this may sound familiar to you guys. Facing the students, giving directions. There had been no previous problems with the student who pulled the chair. Liability to the teacher? No. Absolutely not in that circumstance. Absolutely not. Let's say this, though. Tommy had a history. This is where the gray area is at. The kid that pulled the chair out, his name's Tommy, he had a history of behavior problems. Aggressive, physically aggressive behavioral issues and problems, okay? Would that change then make the teacher potentially liable? I still say no. I still say no. You're going to have kids. I can remember right now, first grade, being bullied by this one kid. Okay? You're just going to have certain kids that are aggressive and that are going to do that type of thing. Okay? And again, your situation, your goal, the standard that applies to you is to minimize the risk. There's always going to be some risk here. In this circumstance, the teacher was in front of the class, talking to the class, giving them direction, and this fellow just decides, you know what, I'm going to pull this chair out from under here. Okay? That's, how could she? Those type of things, you can't keep that from happening at times. Okay? Now, if Tommy, our fellow here who did this, pull this chair out, if he had a history of targeting this one girl, Sally, of just brutalizing her, just making her life very difficult and hard and terrible and all of that, if she had a history of that, if Tommy had a history of that with that particular child, would it have been a good move for that teacher to put Tommy right next to her? No. No. Okay? You want to separate them. Again, each case is different, but given those facts right there, I can tell you the court agreed, they threw that case out too. They said that teacher, there's no liability. Okay. The key, and I'm almost done, the key in these situations is, again, using your common sense, your good common sense that you would do every day anyway, that you do because you want to make sure that the children that you're in charge of and responsible for, that they're in a safe good atmosphere, a safe and secure atmosphere. You're doing that already anyway, okay? Because that's your calling. But what I'm saying is to always keep in the back of your mind, not just the need to do that from your calling standpoint and your job duty standpoint, but also always remember you can be the target of a potential lawsuit, folks. Okay? And when you're using that good common sense, minimizing those foreseeable risks that you've been given notice of, when you're doing that, you're going to be protected from any kind of lawsuit. You'll be okay. Yes, ma'am.
Go back to the isolation. You said putting the child next to the teacher. You don't do that?
No, in this circumstance, what I was saying is that if this boy had a particular history of picking on this one girl all the time, and he had the ability, based upon the seat where he was in proximity to her, to be able to pull her chair out from under her, for her to get hurt, you know, would that have been a good move? If he had that history with this child, to sit him right beside her? No. What I'm saying is that would be the improper thing to do.
Move the child away.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and y'all know these things anyway. You're going to want to minimize it.
Where I was threatened with a lawsuit because I did isolate the child. I
Really?
The child, yes.
Really?
Now, it never went anywhere.
I understand.
It was just, threats, but it did come up, and they did contact the law.
Really? Wow.
And I isolated them not only for behavior, but because the child's performance academically was not where it should be. So
Right.
I put him beside, close to enough to me that I could sit there and work more with him, a little more with him. But anyway, it did come up.
Wow. See it?
But it didn't go anywhere.
Good. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. Because what you did was you were trying to minimize risk. You know?
It still is upsetting. When you get those
I know.
threats, it's very, very
Absolutely.
upsetting.
It's never fun, guys, to be the, you know, somebody throw your name around with the word defended by it. Okay, in a lawsuit. That's never a fun thing, and I understand that. Always remember, if you do your job long enough, you're going to run across a situation where you might get pulled into something like that. Maybe some of you already have. What I'm saying, though, is that if you've used these good common sense, minimizing foreseeable risks, acting appropriately, documenting what you do to protect yourself, but also to protect the school, potentially. If you're doing all those things, that good common sense, just because somebody starts rattling the sabers of a lawsuit, that doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Well, I enjoy being with all of you. I genuinely mean this. I appreciate what you do so much, and especially the UCS folks. I love y'all. I'm so proud to have you at our school, and I appreciate you very much. My kids still talk about they're 16 and 14. They still talk about their pre-K teachers that they had many years ago. They still talk about them. In fact, my oldest saw his at Walmart just recently, and man, she made over him, and he was just blushing and gushing, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So anyway, I just want to tell all of you how much I appreciate you. Okay? Thank you.